Hey, shalom to the hopeful elect. Barakatah Yahawah. Ba'ashim Yahushua. All praises, honor, and glory be to our power, Yahawah. Ba'ashim Yahushua, who is the God of heaven and earth. Yahawah being the name of the Heavenly Father. Ba'ashim means in the name, Yahushua. And I'm speaking in the ancient Paleo-Hebrew tongue, which was the primitive language of the planet, which is found also in the 11th chapter of the book of Genesis. Now, I'm going to jump into it and get into this article here in a second from the New York Post. And as you see this article here on the screen, once again, this is the premise of the lesson. It says nuclear doomsday threat is great and growing. Scientists urgently warn. I'm going to play this video, and there's not any audio on it, but it's showing you the bunkers that people are going and purchasing all around the world. And here goes an example, and I'll get into reading the article and bringing a few precepts. So as you can see on the screen, right, the threat of nuclear war is growing more and more. Nuclear doomsday threat is great and growing. Now, let's get into the article. It says the satire of 1964's Dr. Strangelove may become a terrifying global reality by 2024. A coalition of scientists desperately warn. Over 100 medical journals are simultaneously sounding the alarm that the potential for world-ending nuclear conflict is great and growing amidst states like Russia dangerously stockpiling their doomsday payloads. Now, it goes on to say a large-scale nuclear war between the U.S. and Russia could kill 200 million people or more in the near term and potentially cause a global nuclear winter that could kill 5 to 6 billion people, threatening the survival of humanity, they wrote in unison. Any use of nuclear weapons would be catastrophic for humanity. Even a limited nuclear war involving only 250 of the 13,000 nuclear weapons in the world could kill 120 million people outright and cause global climate disruption, leading to a nuclear famine, putting 2 billion people at risk. And you see, this is actually a sign of one of those ICBMs, right? And it says scientists warn that the brink of nuclear war is closer than ever. And that's the doomsday clock when you go and look it up. So the threat of nuclear war is at its greatest it's ever been, is now. Now, let's go ahead and keep reading. The red alert follows January's frightening moving up of the doomsday clock, now 90 seconds to midnight, in what the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists called the closest to global catastrophe it has ever been, which in the movie Oppenheimer, it actually touched on that, right? That was spoken of. And that was known going back 60 plus years ago. It says this time last year, the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres also said we are in a time of nuclear danger not seen since the height of the Cold War. So that's going back to the 60s. Now the medical journals have opted to intervene in the geopolitical crisis because the threat is now considered to be an urgent public health priority, and fundamental steps must also be taken to address the root cause of the problem by abolishing nuclear weapons, which that's never going to happen. They're not going to abolish the nuclear weapons. All the nations, right, have pushed for a nuclear proliferation, which is the acquiring of the ICBM, is growing more and more unto all the nations. As the scriptures say in the book of Joel, the 3rd chapter, let the weak say, I am strong. So the nations before that were regarded as not much Now they have went out and acquired those nuclear weapons. Now let's get to this point here. It says the danger is great and growing. The nuclear armed states must eliminate their nuclear arsenals before they eliminate us. The current crisis at hand most stems from Russia's ongoing invasion and subsequent war with Ukraine, according to the bulletin. Worst of all, Russia's thinly veiled threats to use nuclear weapons remind the world that escalation of conflict by accident, intention, or miscalculation is a terrible risk, the organization warned in January. Right? Now it goes on to say, but recently these threats are becoming much more concrete. Right? And these are submarines, right, that are positioned all around the globe that have the capabilities. Right? Also, on land, there's the silos that hold these ICBMs, right, which is over 24 nations on the planet is known to have it, and many others, right, that might not be known. It says former Russian president and Vladimir Putin, placeholder Dmitry Medvedev, now the deputy head of Russia's Security Council, recently said the apocalypse isn't just possible, but quite likely, right? So that's something that is a probability. It could happen. It's a chance it will happen. It's very likely. Well, we're here to tell you as a men of the Lord, according to the words of Yahawah Shem Yahushua, it is going to happen. And that's who we trust and believe in, not our own selves, not our own thoughts, not the bulletin of nuclear scientists on the earth, not in Western culture or any of that public opinion, but what the words of the Most High say. So let's get into the words of God, Yahawah, the Most High, the Heavenly Father, right? Who people ignorantly call God and Jehovah, and his son Yahawah Shah, who is sitting back to deliver the elect of the nation of Israel pertaining to the prophecy. Let's see what thus saith the words of the Lord, because we are in the midst of World War III and the battle of Armageddon, right? The mounting of the troops. So let me just start here, right? Going into World War III. This is the book of Zephaniah 3 and verse 8, and it reads, Therefore wait ye upon me, saith the Lord Yahawah, until the day that I rise up to the prey. For my determination is to gather the nations, which is what? The gathering of the troops, the mounting of the troops, World War III. This is the Lord gathering the nations up to bring forth prophecy, which is, the destruction of Babylon and, the nation of Israel rising up, and Esau, the man of sin, being taken out of power. Therefore wait ye upon me, saith the Lord Yahawah, until the day that I rise up to the prey. For my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them mine indignation, which is the Lord's righteous anger, even all my fierce anger. So if all the nations coming together fight, it is the anger of the Lord. When you read, once again, I quoted it earlier, Joel, the 3rd chapter, right? And this is for the vengeance of the Lord's temple. What happened to the children of Israel, right? When you're reading that chapter and other supporting precepts. This is the reason why World War III is actually going to happen. For all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. So there's going to be mass destruction done to the earth, right? Mass destruction done to the earth by way of World War III. But Babylon and Great America is going to be completely destroyed. Thus saith the words of the Lord Yahawah, right? So there's going to be mass destruction that's coming to the earth. Now let's continue to show that. This is the book of Ecclesiastes 10 and 4. So these nuclear scientists and these people all around the world is going and buying more and more underground bunkers. There's a reason why they're doing that, because the threat and the eventuality of nuclear war is not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. And they're saying in 2024. So at any time, this could happen. And there's prophecies and things that are to come. But this is one of the major prophecies that's left. It might be the most major prophecy, other than the mark of the beast being implemented, right? Which is the RFID chip. Ecclesiastes 10 and 4. It says, the power of the earth is in the hand of the Lord, and in due time he will set over it one that is profitable, because clearly he that's ruling the earth now is not profitable. Let's show that, right? So let's read that one more time before we bring the precept. This is Ecclesiasticus or Sirach 10 and 4. The power of the earth is in the hand of Ha'adawan, or the Lord, and in due time he will set over it one that is profitable, which shows you clearly at this time, he that's ruling the earth is not profitable, right? So let's show who's ruling the earth. This is the book of Job 9 in verse 24. And it reads, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? So the wicked who's ruling the earth is known in the Bible as the border of wickedness, when you read in Malachi 1 and verse 4, which are what? The children of fools, which are the Edomites, the so-called Europeans and Caucasians, and they call themselves white people today, right? Job 9 and 24, again, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? So if the wicked is not Esau, Edom, the so-called white man who's ruling the earth, then where is the wicked and who is the wicked, right? Where is the wicked and who is the wicked? So let's read that again. Sirach or Ecclesiasticus 10 and 4, the power of the earth is in the hand of Yahawah or the Lord, and in due time he will set over it one that is profitable. So the Lord is setting up and has always set up who he wanted to rule the earth. Let's show that. Daniel 4 and verse 17. This is all being done by the hand and by the will of God, of Yahawah, the Most High. Daniel 4:17, this matter is by the decree of the watchers and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men. So the Most High is who controls, who rules on the earth and what happens on the earth, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, which is rulership, and set it up over it the basis of man. So the base man, Esau, Edom, is who's currently ruling the earth right now, right? The Most High set up who he wanted to rule, for how long he wanted him to rule, and for all of his purposes. So now let's continue to show that. This is the book of Psalm, right? Showing that the Most High controls who rules the earth, who's in rulership. Psalm 75, and starting at verse 3, it says, the earth and all the inhabitants thereof are dissolved. I bear up the pillars of it. I said unto the fools, deal not foolishly, and to the wicked, lift not up your horn. Verse 5, lift not up your horn on high, speak not with a stiff neck, meaning don't be proud. And when you read in the book of Obadiah, it speaks about the Edomites being the wicked and how they are the most proud. Continuing on, Psalm 75 and 5 again, lift not up your horn on high, speak not with a stiff neck. For promotion, those who are ruling on the earth. For promotion cometh neither from the east, nor from the west, nor from the south, meaning it doesn't come by way of man, whoever is on the earth, right? Whatever empires are on the earth. It comes by the Most High actually raising those empires up to rule, as we read in Daniel 4 and 17. The Most High ruleth in the kingdom of man. Psalm 75 and 7, but the power or the Most High is the judge. He putteth down one and setteth up another. So the Most High is who controls who's ruling on the earth, right? So once again, currently who's ruling is the so-called white man, which is all prophecy that he will be ruling, and he will be the last ruling Gentile nation before the fall, of all the nations. But Esau will be the last ruling nation. And then Yahawah, who the world calls Christ ignorantly, will be the one that's coming to take back rulership and give it back to Israel, right? And establish his government, which is the law, statutes, and commandments of God on the earth. 2 Ezra 6, starting at verse 7, then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times? How are we going to know when these things are going to happen? What times we are in? Now we measure the time through the prophecies when you read in 2 Ezra, the 9th chapter. Let's go there, 2 Ezra, and come right back, 9 and verse 1. He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs past, which I told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. So now let's go back to 2 Ezra 6, and starting back at verse 7, it says, then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times? How are we going to know what times we're in when all these things are going to come to pass? More specifically, the end times. Or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? So all the nations will come together and fight in the battle of Armageddon, Armageddon. That would be one of the major signs, right, of knowing that we're in the last days. And the scripture said that they would have the wasters, the glittering spear, the glittering sword, the flying arrows. These are all names for the ICBMs, the intercontinental ballistic missiles. And that's only been in this time that we've been in the earth in the last 60 plus years. And now seeing all the nations and all the world being concerned about nuclear doomsday, which is all biblical prophecy. Verse 8, and he said unto me, 2 Ezra 6 and 8, and he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. Verse 9, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth, which is what? Rulership forever, immortality, which is going to be the rule of the Israelites, who are going to be immortal, and they're going to rule on the earth forever, never to end, as you read in precepts like Isaiah 45 and 17. The Israel's world is, rule is going to be a world without end, an uninterrupted rule, right? So now let's leave from there and go further, right? So let's go to 2 Ezra, what are we, 2 Ezra 6? Let's just stay here. Let's go down a little bit. 2 Ezra 6, let's go down to verse 23, right? Just to continue to expound upon that. 2 Ezra 6 and verse 23, and the trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man heareth, they shall be suddenly afraid. And we're in that time where men are suddenly afraid, which is why you see all these, scientific journals being put out and, all the scientists being worried about what? Nuclear war. So we're in that time, right? And we're in a time when men are going to be suddenly afraid because Jacob's trouble is upon us. The time of lawlessness and sedition, also known as the time of great tribulation, when you read in Acts 14 and verse 22. Continuing on, verse 24, 2 Ezra 6 and 24, it says, and at that time shall friends fight one against another. So we're in a time where men are going to betray one another. When there's a scarcity of resources, when the economic systems, of the world collapse, starting here in Babylon and around the world, that's going to lead to what? Panic and fear. And it says, and at that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. The springs of the fountains shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. Verse 25. It says, whosoever remaineth from all these, the time of Jacob's trouble, and then the missiles that's going to hit Babylon, right? Whosoever remaineth from all these that I have told thee shall escape and see my salvation and the end of your world. So it's going to be the end of the rule of the wicked, which once again, we read Job 9 and 24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, right? And Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So we're going to see the end, the elect. I don't want to write the Zion, Lord willing, we are of that number, are going to watch the end of Esau's world, of the rule of the so-called white man, right? Pertaining to prophecy. Now, let's continue to show that even further. It's going to be the end of his world. We're at the end of the world, the rule, right, of the wicked. This is Proverbs 21 and verse 1. And it reads, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord Yahawah. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. So the ruling powers on the earth, the kings of the earth, right, are in and by the hand of the Lord. All things are being done with all the ruling powers on the earth by the hand of God, by the hand of the Most High, Yahawah. Let's read that again. Proverbs 21 and 1, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord Yahawah. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. So he's making all the ruling powers, the kings of the earth, do whatever he wants them to do, right? Because if it was in their power, if it was by their will, then all these nations wouldn't have, nuclear weapons, wouldn't have ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles. They wouldn't have that, right? Now we know that there's a time, that's approaching too, known as peace and safety. But let's show that. Let's show that. So that should be 1 Thessalonians, the 5th chapter. Or was it 4th? 1 Thessalonians 5 and 1. It says, the title here in the blue letter, the day of the Lord, the day of Yahawah. 1 Thessalonians 5 and 1. But of the times and of the seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you, because the watchers, the believers, will be watching for the signs here on the earth, the physical signs. For yourselves know perfectly that the day of Yahawah, or the Lord, so cometh as a thief in the night. Verse 3, for when they shall say peace and safety, so there's a time where, different things is going to be going on the earth. It's going to cause for the ruling powers on the earth to say, let's come together and let's just, let's all just get along, and that could be the heightened tensions of nuclear doomsday, as we see here on the screen, or World War III, and other things as well. But this is another sign, a telltale sign. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travaileth upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. So no one's going to be able to escape this but the elect, which are going to be able to make it out of here on the chariots. Now, there are going to be people throughout the earth in those bunkers and different places hidden out pertaining to prophecy. That's going to be, when you go into Jeremiah, the 16th chapter, for instance, there's going to be here on the earth that's been preserved predominantly and ultimately to go into captivity, right? The remnant of the nations. They're going to be there to go into captivity, to be the slaves of the children of Israel. Now, so this time of peace and safety is also upon us. So let's go further into it and get a few more precepts going into World War III, right? Which is why there's great fear here. Once again, the nuclear doomsday threat is great and growing. Scientists urgently warn. Why are they urgently warning that? Because it's prophecy that this would happen. This is 2 Ezra 15, starting in verse 20, and it reads, Behold, saith the power, I will call together all the kings of the earth to reverence me. The same thing we read in Zephaniah 3 and 8. And this is also found all throughout the scriptures, and it's found, pertaining to the prophecy, showing that the Most High is who's causing this to happen. When you read Exodus 15 and 3, it tells you that the Lord, Yahawah, is a man of war. The Lord is his name. So the Lord is causing all these wars to go on in the last days, and ultimately World War, in order to bring forth prophecy, right? The things that he said would happen, that he promised would happen, the things that he swore that would happen, right? 2 Ezra 15 and 20, Behold, saith the Most High, or the power, I will call together all the kings of the earth to reverence me, to fear him, which are from the rising of the sun, which also, I've quoted this chapter many times. You can find this also in the book of Joel, the 3rd chapter, right? The Lord calling all the nations to the valley of Jehoshaphat, right? The place where he's going to judge the nations. It says, which are from the rising of the sun, from the south, from the east, and Libanus, to turn themselves one against another, and to repay the things that they have done to them. To who? The children of Israel. Here's the proof. Verse 21, 2 Ezra 15 and 21. Like as they do yet this day unto my chosen, so will I do also, and recompense in their bosom. Thus saith the Lord. Power. So the Lord is going to do this because he said what? Because of what they've done to my chosen. So this is the repayment for all the wickedness that's been done to the children of Israel, being sold into slavery, being raped, robbed, and murdered, by the northern kingdom of all their resources here, by the conquistadors, and by the Edomites, the Spanish, the French, the Dutch, the English, so on and so forth. Now, all of this, and then bringing, through the transatlantic slave trade, Judah, Benjamin, Levi, the northern kingdom, over here into slavery, going back into the 1600s. So all of this is recompense for all that's been done, right? Now let's go down in this chapter as well, because it touches on World War III as well. This is 2 Ezra 15 and verse 28, just touching on World War III. 2 Ezra 15 and 28, it says, Behold, a horrible vision and the appearance thereof from the east. Now, what is this horrible vision and appearance from the east? Verse 29, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots. So now this is getting into a particular region of the world, that Saudi Gulf region, right? It says now you have in there Saudi Arabia, right? You have Iraq in that area, Iran, right? Of course, the nation of Israel is there, which the Ish people are in that land, are in our land, the fake Jews, right? But all in that region, Oman, so on and so forth. Even north of Iraq, you have Turkey. So this is all in that region, but more specifically, the Gulf nations, right? So now, when you read this, this is speaking about in that area, and it's speaking more specifically as we continue to read about the Iranians. They figure very prominently in end time prophecy, along with who? Gog and Magog, which in that landmass is Russia today, which would be the Russians, which are also known as the Medes in the Bible. 2 Ezra 15 and verse 29, It says, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon the earth, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. Also the Carmenians, so the Carmenians or Carmanians, however you want to pronounce it when you look it up, Carmanians. When you look up the Carmenians or Carmanians, this is making reference to present day the Persians, which are the Iranians when you look it up. Also the Carmanians or Carmenians, raging in wrath, shall go forth as the wild boar of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of Assyria. So they're going to be a part of World War III, a big part of it. And I believe through faith, right, through the Spirit of the Lord, the proximity when you look at Iran and you look at Israel, they're very close in proximity. And Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, the ex-president of Iran, going back about a decade ago, he's promised him and the Ayatollah, the supreme Ayatollah, which is the religious leader of Iran, that they would wipe Israel off the face of the earth. So through the Spirit, when you see these nations that are linked up in prophecy, I believe through the Spirit that Iran is going to be a big part of the destruction of Israel, right? The scriptures do say the least of the flock is going to draw him out, right? So this is going to pull America into this conflict, which also, this has happened in the past, right? Going back, when you go back into World War II. Now, continuing on, verse 31, 2nd Ezra 15 and 31, and then shall the dragons have the upper hand, remembering their nature, and if they shall turn, it says, that they shall turn themselves, conspiring together in great power to persecute them. Then these shall be troubled, it says, bled, and keep silence through their power, and shall flee. And for the land of Assyria, which will be America, shall the enemy besiege them and consume some of them, and in their hosts shall be, it says, shall be fear and dread and strife among their kings. So this is all showing end time prophecy and speaking more specifically with the Iranians, right? How they figure in the prophecy. So when it spoke about, and many is going to be with them here in verse 30, let me touch on that point. This is 2nd Ezra 15 and 30 again. It says, and also the Carmenians, raging in wrath, shall go forth as the wild boar of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them. So there's going to be assembly of nations. Let me show you that, because it says with great power shall join with them. So these nations are not acting independently. And what you see is, when you see the BRICS nations today, right, headed by Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, this is forming the coalition of nations that's being assembled to come against America, which is known as Babylon the Great in the Bible, right? Now let's show that. This is the book of Jeremiah. This is Jeremiah 50, and I'll start at verse 9. Jeremiah 50 and verse 9. Now, who are they going to be joined with? Here's the assembly of nations spoken of throughout the scriptures. Jeremiah 50 and 9, and it reads, for lo, or look, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon. So there's nations that the Lord is assembling against Babylon, right? I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations. And this will be today the BRICS alliance is the beginning forming, the coalition of nations that the Lord, has reserved to come against Babylon in the last days. To what? To fulfill biblical prophecy. To come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country. And that starts with who? It starts with Russia. And they shall set themselves in array against her, against Babylon, against America. From thence she shall be taken. Their arrows, speaking of what? The missiles, shall be as of a mighty expert man, and none shall return in vain. So these missiles are going to be they're going to be shot throughout the earth, are going to hit their targets. It says the same thing in 2nd Ezra. Let me get that. 2nd Ezra, the 16th chapter, because it spoke about the arrows are going to be like that of a mighty expert man. And that's making reference to this here in 2nd Ezra, Salakia 16, 2nd Ezra 16 and verse 12. It says the earth quaketh. What's going to cause the earth to quake and shake to and fro like a drunkard when you read throughout the scriptures, right? What's going to cause that is those missiles hitting various parts of the earth. It's going to cause great earthquakes and floods. It says the earth quaketh and the foundations thereof, the sea ariseth up, with waves from the deep, and the waves of it are troubled, and the fishes thereof also before Yahawah, or the Lord, and before the glory of his power. Verse 13, for strong is his right hand that bendeth the bow. His arrows that he shooteth are sharp and shall not miss. So he's speaking about being of a mighty expert, expert man. These will be the missiles that are going to be shot, right? The ICBMs. And when they begin to be shot into the ends of the world. So these arrows, these missiles are going to be shot from one end of the earth, even unto the other, right? From one end of the earth, even unto the other. Now let's show that. Let's show that further. That's also found here in this entire chapter here in Isaiah. It's in this entire chapter, Isaiah, the 13th chapter. This whole chapter is talking about the prophecy of what's going to happen to Babylon the Great, which is America. This is Isaiah 13. I'll go right to the point. Isaiah 13 and verse 4. It says, the noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people. And that is what the nations coming together, as we continue to read, right? So this is the noise, which is the rumors, the wars and rumors of wars, right? Or the nations coming together, the nations assembling together against America. And at this time, the European Union, right? The beast system. This is Isaiah 13 and 4, the noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise. And what's tumultuous or terrible about this noise is the nations are talking about doing what? Shooting nuclear missiles, right? That's why this article and many of them and journals are being put out about the concern of nuclear war. It says, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. The Lord Yahawah of hosts mustereth the hosts of the battle. Okay, so this is all being done by the will of the Lord, as we started the lesson with. Now let's show further, right, what's going to come of this. What cometh of this? Isaiah 13 and 5, they come from a far country, speaking of the missiles that's going to be shot from one end of the earth into the other, as we read in 2nd Ezra, the 16th chapter, right? And also when we read going back to, Jeremiah 50 chapter, all the nations coming together, right? And what are they going to do when they come together? They're going to shoot these nuclear missiles. And the majority are going to come to Babylon. Now, there are going to be different parts of the earth that's going to be wasted and destroyed, but the earth as a whole, pertaining to Ecclesiastes, the 1st chapter, the earth is going to abide forever. It's not going to be completely destroyed by the nuclear missiles, but America is going to be completely destroyed. Continuing on, Isaiah 13 and 5, they come from a far country. It says, from the end of heaven, even the Lord, Yahawah, and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land. And that lines up with Zechariah, the 13th chapter. Let's get that real quick. To destroy the whole land. Zechariah 13, this is speaking about America, Babylon the Great. Zechariah 13 and verse 8, and it shall come to pass that in all the land, in all of this land, America, Babylon the Great, it says, saith the Lord Yahawah, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die. When you read the verse before, it tells you that the Lord is going to, bring a mighty sword against his people and those that will be the false prophets, right? He's going to smite them, and the sheep are going to be scattered, speaking of the elect, and the little ones are going to be gathered. So at this time, going back to Zechariah 13 and 8, and it shall come to pass that in all the land, all of the land, speaking of all of here in America, saith the Lord Yahawah, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die. So 2 out of 3 Israelites are not going to make it. They're known as a rebellious house, and the 2/3, right? Those that were, as it says in 2nd Ezra, the 9th chapter, that the multitude perished that was born in vain. These were the ones that were going to be given over to the condemnation, right? Not being the elect. It says 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die. So 2 out of 3 of our people, 2/3, are not going to be given salvation. But the 3rd shall be left therein, but 1 out of 3 Israelites are going to make it. That's the ratio, right? That's what the Lord left, the remnant that he left and preserved to come back and establish the kingdom of heaven. Now, some of the remnant are going to be martyrs, but a great majority of them are going to make it on the chariot. Zechariah 13 and 9, and I will bring the 3rd part through the fire and will refine them as silver is refined and will try them as gold is tried. So this is the elect, that gold and silver. They shall call on my name. So the believers are going to come back to believing and calling on the name of the Most High. And I will hear them, and I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, the Lord Yahawah is my power. So the elect are going to come back to calling on the name of the Lord. As it says, in Sirach or Ecclesiasticus 17:10, that the elect would praise his holy name. So the believers are coming back to praising the name of Yahawah Hashem Yahushua. So now let's show that further, because what we spoke about before was the missiles that's going to be shot from one end of the earth unto the other. Let me touch on that one more time, because another precept comes to mind, right? 2 Peter, the 3rd chapter, and the 10th verse, and it reads, "But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night." And why is it coming like a thief in the night? The Lord said he's coming as a thief in the night all throughout the scriptures. Now, why would the scriptures be saying that? Right? Because the people are unaware. The average Israelite, 2/3 of our nation, is not looking, right, or awaiting or hastening the coming of our Lord. They're not preparing. They're just going on with their life as if this is never going to happen, as if this is just words in a book, right? They believe that the Most High, when you read the book of Zephaniah, is neutral. He won't do good or he won't do evil. They don't truly believe, in the words of Yahawah Hashem Yahushua. 2 Peter 3:10, "But the day of the Lord, or Yahawah, will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise." That's going to be the nuclear missiles. It's going to be hitting ground zero, right? The targets that they're going to hit, primarily once again here in America, Babylon the Great, right? So that's going to be the great noise. The booms, right? Those sonic booms is going to be all throughout the earth, which once again is going to cause earthquakes, as we read. With the great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. So what's going to happen from that great noise, that destruction, those explosions all around the earth, right, is going to cause the elements to melt with fervent heat. Those nuclear missiles are going to be so hot that, it's going to take all the breathable oxygen out of the air in those different areas where it hit. So that's going to cause the elements, the actual earth, to burn, and be like lava. That's why America is known also as the lake of fire. "And the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up." See, so everything's going to be burned up here in Babylon in various parts of the earth. And they be replenished, right, by the righteous coming down out of the chariots with Yahushua. Those that are going to be caught up, going to be so-called raptured. Those that are going to be given salvation by way of the chariots, of the Lord. So all of this is coming. Verse 11, "Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons ought ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness?" So what kind of mindset should we have, knowing that the Lord Yahawah Hashem Yahushua is about to destroy Babylon the Great, and that all these nations you see assembling is all the beginning of the end of the rule of the wicked? So with that, I pray this lesson was edifying, exhorting, and comforting, which is Philippians 4:7, "The peace that surpasseth all understanding," which is this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding as given by the God of heaven and earth through his son, Yahushua. And so I'm going to go ahead and say all praises, honor, and glory be to Yahawah, by Hashem Yahushua, by Hashem Rakakwadash. Honors be to the elder apostles of Great Millstone and like-minded elders that teach this word in truth and in sincerity. Barakim La, Habayath, Madawada, blessings to the house of David, and to you, Akim, on the four corners of the earth, giving all diligence, making your calling and election sure, helping seal the elect of the nation of Israel, for the return of our Lord Hamashiach Yahushua is at hand. And to the Akim Wahagwath, which are the brothers and sisters that also listen and believe on the glorious gospel that's being preached throughout the four corners of the earth. Unto you I say Shalom.